Hey, welcome to our podcast. This is Rockin' English Hour with me, Mr. Don, where we learn English while talking about some great artists, bands, rock, metal, and blues. Are you an English language learner or an ESL teacher? Do you like rock and roll? Then this is the place and the podcast for you. Come on and join us. Are you ready to rock some English? All right, as you might have guessed, tonight's show is going to be about Iron Maiden. If you missed last week's show about AC/DC, go back and listen to it. You can still do that. Okay. Iron Maiden preview questions. What do you know about the band? Have you ever heard of Iron Maiden? What country are they from? Have you ever seen them on a video, on TV, or live in concert? When did they get their start, do you think? Anything else you know? What are they famous for? All right, those are our preview questions. And I also want to introduce my crew. CREW, that's an English word you should know. Like an airline crew on an airplane. This is my crew tonight. I have with us Olivia, the grammar guru. And you met her last week if you were with us. I think she's already got something that she wants to say. Hang on, Olivia. Hold on. Just a moment. Hold your horses. I'll give you a chance to enlighten us in a bit. Okay. The second member of my crew is Vera, and she is the vocabulary vixen. You might ask, what is a vixen? Go ahead and look that up on your phone. VIXEN. There are two meanings, I believe, but the main one I'm talking about is what 1960s Jimi Hendrix, the great guitar player, would have called a foxy lady. Please don't say that. We don't use that anymore. It was popular in the 60s and 70s. You might get slapped in the face if you call a woman that today. Although I don't know. She'll probably just look at you weird. Anyway, Vera is our vocabulary vixen. All right. Last but not least, Puspita, the pronunciation princess from Indonesia. Okay, all three of them will be chiming in, or just interrupting or cutting in. From time to time on tonight's show. Okay, it's time to read a couple of the comments about last week's show, the first show on AC/DC. So let's go ahead and read those now. Okay, my Uncle Jim from Oregon, who was a guest on last week's show, said, just finished listening to the podcast. Well done. What a fantastic subject to teach English with. I agree. I didn't realize it when I started this, but I think this has got potential. So many different paths you can go down. He continues, phrases, words, meanings. Yeah. So last week's show, if you didn't hear it, wow, a lot of English content. Loads of grammar, phrases, and individual vocabulary words for learners of all levels. But I think it became clear that this podcast is especially useful for everyone who is a pre-intermediate to advanced learner. Whatever level you're at, I hope you love the show and it helps you improve your English. Let's hear from one more person about last week's show, and this is my friend's wife in Thailand, A. Okay, A, what did you have to say? She said, just finished listening to the podcast. I love AC/DC. Was so cool you were talking about them. My favorite song is Thunderstruck. Good drinking game. She's a drinker. I don't know the drinking game you're referring to. I have no knowledge of that, ma'am. Nothing. I don't know. But yeah, Thunderstruck is a great song. Okay. There's a few others, but we're going to stop there. Let's get on with tonight's show.
Mr. Don, I have been trying to point out a grammar point. You asked, when did they get their start? The phrase get their start is a common grammar construct in casual conversation. In this case, you used get plus a noun start. You could also have said get started, using the participle verb started. Some other get plus noun phrases are, get a haircut, get a real job. Some other get plus verb 3 phrases include, get married, get cheated, get robbed, or get signed to a record label or recording contract, for example. That's all for now.
Thank you, Olivia. Once again, you are right, as usual. Get is essential for becoming an advanced English listener or speaker. You need to be able to understand what people are saying when they use get, and you also need to be able to use it to sound natural at an advanced level. So I could have said, when did they start making music, or when did they start their band? But it doesn't sound quite as natural as when did they get their start. And in casual conversation, that's more common. Thank you for pointing out all those phrases. You can also, of course, use get with adjectives, but that's a little bit different. In that case, get means become, get angry, get drunk, for example.
Excuse me, Mr. Don, but may I say something? I would like to review the vocabulary that you have mentioned up to now on the show. You have used 7 words or phrases that I feel many listeners might not know. I want to chime in every 7, because 7 is a lucky number in America. Okay then, chime in means to add something to a conversation, to interrupt it to say something new. Also, crew, which means staff, group, or members. A cabin crew on an airplane. Hold your horses means to wait, to hang on, as you like to say. You also said the show has potential. Potential is a good thing. If something has potential, it has the possibility to become something good or great in the future. This show is geared towards more advanced English learners. That means it is meant for, or designed for. Finally, you said that learning vocabulary with the word get is essential to become an advanced learner. Essential means necessary or critical. Did I do a good job?
Vera, you did a terrific job. You were awesome. I couldn't have done better myself. Okay, what I would like to do now is to hear some responses to some questions. I asked a few questions to my friend Agus in Jogja, Indonesia, in central Java. And he's a big rock and metal fan. And here is his reply. What I want you to do is to listen and then see if you can guess what questions I asked him. All right? What questions did I ask Agus? All right, see if you can make those questions. Here is his reply.
My first memory of them, they're very heavy metal, real heavy metal. And the first album is Seven Son of a Seven Son. And then why they are success? Because they're consistent about the music they play, about the song they write, and they're very talented person. Especially, I like Nico McBride because he's one of the good drummer. and Steve Harris for the bass. Yeah, it's a unique.
All right. Thank you, Agus. Terima kasih, yeah. That was a great reply. What I love about that is it was real, in real time. As in, he didn't prepare any kind of response. I asked him via message, by messenger, to answer a few questions about Iron Maiden, and he did it. Like, he came back 5 minutes later with a reply, and obviously, I don't know, he was in front of his house or on the street, or I'm laughing because of the background noise. At one point, I thought I heard a bird hoot. I mean, yeah, Javanese commonly keep birds as pets. I know he does, so I mean that's possible. There were motorcycles. There was running water. I don't. Anyway, August, that was a absolutely beautiful reply, and I thank you. Actually, I just want to add, for all of you for all of you English learners who are intermediate to advanced level, if you really want to get to be an advanced listener in English, one thing, they won't tell you this, in your classes or whatever, but one thing you can do is to start listening to real replies. People aren't preparing this stuff. Listen to live stuff on YouTube. Listen to live things. Listen to things like this reply that has background noise. I mean, things where there's interruptions. Try listening to English in an environment where you actually have noise. I mean, God knows I spent many years of my life listening to shit in Korean that, yeah. And that's all I'm going to say about that. But if you can focus, if you can learn to focus and listen to what people are saying despite the noise around you, or listen to things that are not high quality but still get the general message, then you will become an advanced English listener. All right. Now, what were the questions that I asked Agus originally? Stop, play it back one more time if you need to. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and give you the questions that I asked him. Okay, my first question was, what's your first memory of Iron Maiden? He replied that, man, they're a real metal band, and he's right. They're not hard rock. They're not just a rock band. AC/DC, which we heard last week, you could say they are hard rock. Some metal, some blues, but this is a metal band. So that was a good response. He also added that his first album that he listened to was Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. And that's hard to say even for a native speaker. So, yeah, seventh. So you have ordinal numbers here. And that was a great album. I asked him, why do you think they have been successful? So if you said, why are they successful, or why have they been successful, that was the correct question. He says because they are consistent. Good word to know, consistent. They keep making good music every single album, year after year. That is consistency. And finally, I asked him what makes them unique. Okay. Now he pointed out, I asked him to add any other comments he might have about the band. He named two of the members. Namely, he said that Steve Harris was a great musician, and he's been recognized, or he is respected and renowned as a great musician. And he is their bass player. I guess he's played keyboards as well. And he has been with the band since their formation in the middle 70s. And he's the only member that has, stayed with the band from that time. He is the key member. When I say key, I mean that the critical member. He is the one who has come up with so many of their ideas, the lyrics to songs, and a lot of the music and everything else. So Steve Harris, definitely. And then Nico McBrain, who has been their drummer from 1982 until the present, until now. So for the last, 40 years. In the 70s, they got their start in the late 70s, and there were a number of personnel changes, and I don't want to go through those. Their main lead singer has been Bruce Dickinson. He was their singer from 1981 through 1993, and then again from 1999 until now. Okay, and by the way, actually, Maiden had a singer prior to Bruce Dickinson, who was Paul Di'Anno, before 1981. And then the guy who took over for several years in the 1990s after Bruce Dickinson left was Blaze Bayley. But you really don't hear much of a difference with him singing. The music sounds the same. He did, concerts. He did all their old tunes and everything, and it was, it didn't sound that much different. Okay, let's look at their studio albums. So they're largely started as what I would just say an 80s band. They were not a typical 80s hair band. They were a metal band. But their first album, self-titled Iron Maiden, that was released commercially, was in 1980, followed by Killers, 1981. That was the first album where they had really some hits, and they got them well known. Of course, The Number of the Beast, a lot of people know that, in 82. Peace of Mind, 83. Power Slave, 84, very popular album. Somewhere in Time, 86. Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, the one my friend mentioned, in 1988. No Prayer for the Dying, 1990. And also a well-known song and album, Fear of the Dark, in 92. And that brings us up to the time that their lead singer changed, so I'll stop there. Okay, that was the song Run to the Hills, and that was off of the album Number of the Beast. Let me just read the lyrics out loud. If you haven't looked them up yet, please do so now on your device. Lyrics, Run to the Hills. Okay. White man came across the sea. He brought us pain and misery. He killed our tribes. He killed our creed. He took our game for his own need. We fought him hard. We fought him well. Out on the plains, we gave him hell. But many came, too much for Cree. Oh, will we ever be set free? And it goes on. It's got some great lyrics. And this is a story, of course, a true story about the history of the Indian tribes in North America and their fight against the U.S. cavalry, U.S. Army cavalry, and the settlers as well. And some of the words there include creed. Creed is a belief or belief system. Game, took our game. Game are the animals that you hunt, like deer, buffalo, etc. What else? Cree is the name of one of the Indian tribes. You've got the word barren waste, talking about the plains. Barren doesn't have a lot of trees or life, desert-like. You have galloping. Gallop is what a horse does. The rest of those, you can look them up yourself, but it's a great song. Okay, let's listen to another.
Wait. We've had 7 vocab words I want to review before the guitars drown me out. Your friend, Agus, said consistent. Consistent means always the same, dependable, reliable. Consistency is the noun form. Unique is an adjective that means one of a kind, the only one special. Creed is a belief or a belief system, as you just stated. Game are the wild animals that people hunt for food. Deer, squirrels, sheep, bear, rabbits. It does not include fish. Barren means infertile, or dry and lacking life or vegetation. People think deserts are barren, but many are not. And finally, when horses run, we say they gallop.
Okay, so these are the actual tactics, what actually happened in the air and on the ground in England in World War II when the Royal Air Force, the English Air Force, had to fight the Germans who had superior airplanes, and the RAF had Hurricanes and Spitfires, and you'll see that in the lyrics, Spitfires. It says, ascending, going up, and turning our Spitfires to face them. Okay. So that's the name of an airplane. But looking at the chorus lyrics, and if you haven't done so, please look up lyrics, Aces High. You heard it, running, scrambling, flying. So this is when the airplanes are still on the ground, and the men have to run on alert. They get the alert. They scramble the planes. That means they run to the planes and take off as fast as they can, as fast as possible. Flying, rolling, turning, diving, going in again. So this is what these are maneuvers that airplanes make in the air. This is what they do when they're airborne, right? They roll, they turn left to right, they dive, they go down. And then run, live to fly, fly to live, do or die. Okay, so live to fly. And I think a lot of flyers, pilots would agree with that. They love to fly so much that's their life. They live to fly to live, because if they did not stop the Germans, World War II would have been over. That would have been it. The U.S. would have made a settlement with Germany. Germany would have had all of Europe, all of it, including England. So it surprised a lot of people, the performance of the Royal Air Force. But these lyrics talk about what actually happened, and the tactics and strategies used by the Royal Air Force against the Germans during World War II. So again, a very interesting song. Okay, I'm just playing random songs that are my favorites, but I'm trying to go kind of chronologically in order. But here's another early one from, I think, 83 off one of their first albums, and it is Flight of the Icarus. And Flight of Icarus, so Icarus, Flight of Icarus. Go ahead and look that up. Lyrics, Flight of Icarus. Let's listen to it. That is Flight of Icarus. And if you look at the lyrics, they're very interesting. You might understand some of them. It's kind of poetic, written kind of as a poem. But without the context, you probably wonder, what the heck is this story about? So this is a Greek myth, a story that goes, way back in history. It may have been based on some event that took place, actually, but we don't know for sure. We don't know if it's true. Some of it might be true. Most of it maybe isn't, but we can't be sure. This is a Greek myth. This is the story of a father and son who escaped from the island of Crete by making wings for themselves out of feathers and beeswax or something. So they were able to fly. Let's just, think of like a modern hang glider or somebody with, that kind of thing. They made this some kind of thing, and they flew, caught the winds off the island, and they flew. The father had warned the son, don't try to fly too high, because towards the sun. And the son, well, He disobeyed his father, and he wanted to fly. He felt really arrogant, confident, oversure of himself. And he decided to fly as high as he could towards the sun because it felt good. And damn it, he was young and he's going to do what he wants. So he did it. And the sun melted the wax that was holding his, the feathers together and everything. And yeah, he fell and died. And that was it. So there was a moral, like to many stories, there was a moral to it, and that was, don't be too arrogant. Don't maybe even listen to what your older father might have to say. He might know what he's actually talking about. Now, the lyrics, I'm going to read them out. Go ahead and look at them on your phones. As the sun breaks above the ground, an old man stands on the hill. As the ground warms to the first rays of light, a bird song shatters the stillness. Nothing's happening, no sounds until the bird sings. His eyes are ablaze. A blaze is like on fire. He has some purpose. He's, motivated to do something. See the madman in his gaze. Gaze is his look. Madman, he's got this crazy look in his eyes. Fly on your way like an eagle. Fly as high as the sun. There you go. That's the suggestion in his head. Yeah, you should do it, man. You should do it. Go ahead. Fly towards the sun. You can do it. It's all right. Don't listen to your pop. He doesn't know what the hell's going on. Like an eagle, fly and touch the sun. And then it goes on. And of course, as he flies on the wings of a dream, now he knows his father betrayed. Betrayed is to disobey or turn your back against or turn somebody in to the police, for example. So now his wings turn to ashes, his grave. Yeah, they turned to ashes, to dust. They melted. And that was his grave, his death. So, great song again.
Devil sends the beast with wrath because he knows the time is short. Let him who hath understanding reckon the number of the beast, for it is a human number. Its number is 666.
I left alone. My mind was blank. I needed time to think, to get the memories from my mind. What did I see? Can I believe that what I saw that night was real and not just fantasy? Just what I saw in my old dreams were the reflections of my Walkman staring back at me. 'Cause in my dreams, it's always there, the evil face that twists my mind and brings me to despair.
Okay, so that was the song Number of the Beast, which again was also the title to their second big album, released in the early 80s. Controversial just because of the, satanic symbolism there and not that they were glorifying it or anything else. If you look at the lyrics, which aren't really specific, I mean, this is just, you can understand the lyrics. They're pretty simple. But in Christian mythology, belief, and according to the book of Revelations, and a lot of Christians believe that in the last days before the second coming of Jesus Christ, there will be an antichrist, or maybe already is, whatever, and that he will have a human number, whatever that means. There's different interpretations. But anyway, his number will be 666, and that is the number of the beast or the Antichrist. And so, that was one of the early popular tunes that kind of landed him on a lot of people's radar. as in a lot of people didn't know who this band was. But yeah, as soon as that song was released, of course, because it was controversial, because it brought up like, the Antichrist or something, they automatically, of course, assumed because it was heavy metal, and then it was a heavy metal band without even really looking at the lyrics that, oh my God, I can't let my kid listen to these people. They're like preaching devil. This is devil music. And there's a whole history there in the 80s. And in the U.S., it got very interesting with a good number of bands that were metal bands and everything. And not that the bands themselves and the marketers, the people that, wanted to sell their albums, the recording studios, yeah, they knew that sold big. I mean, get your name in the news with a song like this, and you're going to sell a lot more albums. And so a lot of these bands did nothing, of course, to say that, to try to calm the public down. And it was very interesting. And I grew up during that period in the 80s. But I'm not going to ramble on about that history. But that's one of their most famous songs just because of that fact. It has the number 666, the beast, the Antichrist, So that is the number of the beast. All right. I've been playing some of my favorite Maiden songs and kind of progressing through the 80s. There's a song I forgot, and I'm going to skip back. I want to go back. So their first studio album, self-entitled Iron Maiden, had a song on it called Phantom of the Opera. Now, a lot of you may, know the story. You may be aware of the musical, whatever. And yeah, it's totally based on that. So let's have a listen. Okay, that was another great 80s song by Iron Maiden. And you might have recognized that the riff, the early guitar part, was from the introduction of the show. And the name of the song is The Trooper. So, if you look at the lyrics for The Trooper, you can look those up if you haven't already. The Trooper, Trooper. Trooper, hey trooper. It's like a soldier, okay? So, lyrics. You'll take my life, but I'll take yours too. You'll fire musket, but I'll run you through. Run you through is a great phrase. Run you through with a bayonet. If you've seen early war movies, the early muskets, the rifles that they had to fire using black powder, in the 1800s up to the middle 1800s, these had a long pointed knife-like thing that you would stick on the end. You would attach it to the end of the rifle, and then when it got too close to fire, you would just run at the other side, and you would just stab them. Stab them with your rifle. So run you through, either with a sword or with the bayonet on the end of the rifle, to stab someone so it goes all the way through their body. Run you through. The bugle sounds, the charge begins. Throughout the world, all militaries, infantry, when you're talking about like starting a charge against the enemy, it often starts with a bugle. And the bugle is that trumpet. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, on this battlefield, no one wins. The smell of acrid smoke and horse's breath as I plunge on into certain death. So the horses are breathing. There's smoke on the battlefield. And the guys, we're going to die here probably. The horse, he sweats with fear. We break to run. The mighty roar of the Russian guns. Now, this is interesting. This was written in the 80s at the height of the Cold War. The Russian guns. So now this sets out that this is really the Americans against the Russians. And as we race towards the human wall, a human wall is like a line, big line blockade of soldiers. The screams of pain as my comrades fall. Comrades, brothers in arms, people on your side, okay? We hurdle bodies that lay on the ground. Hurdle, go over. You jump the hurdle. In a track meet, when you're running and you have to leap over. So they jump over the bodies laying on the ground. The Russians fire another round. We get so near, so yet so far away, we won't live to fight another day. So again, certain death. Russian pulls the trigger, on the gun. When you pull a rifle, when you shoot, you pull the trigger, we say. Okay, that's what fires the gun. You feel the blow. Bam, the blow to the body, the hit. A burst of rounds, take my horse below. He's on his horse, and the rounds, the bullets, the firing from the enemy guns hits his horse. Take my horse below. The horse is below him. He's on his horse. The horse falls down. He goes down. And as I lay there, gazing at the sky, looking at the sky, he's now on the ground. His horse is dead. Just got shot out from under him, we would say. My body's numb. There's no feeling. And my throat is dry. Yeah, that's what happens in times of stress like this. And as I lay forgotten and alone, without a tear, I dry my parting groan. His last breath. It's very interesting. There's one thing that I always took from this when I heard it the first time, and that was, this is also very symbolic of the Cold War in the 80s for many decades actually, but when I was growing up, between the Russians and the U.S., because it's very symbolic. The phrase, but on this battlefield, no one wins. So if we actually had gotten into a war with the Russians, it would have been with the Soviet Union at the time. It would have been a nuclear war, and yeah, nobody can win that. I mean, you can't really say that you won, given, how many people are going to die. So this is again a really cool song. Take a look at the lyrics. As you probably figured out, Iron Maiden sings about a lot of stuff. Historical, accurate, really true things, mythology, They sing about myths, stories, legends from times of the past. They sing about a lot of things, and that's why I love them. What I think is unique about them is that their lyrics are so urgent. And if you listen to Iron Maiden and you look up the lyrics in English and you actually take the time to find out about the context and everything, you'll learn a lot about history, mythology. You'll learn a lot about, all kinds of topics that you never knew about before. So, I think that's one of the great things about the band.
A light in the black, or just a fear of the dark. Alone when I'm walking a dark road at night, or strolling through the park. When the light begins to fade, sometimes feel a little strange, a little anxious when it's dark. Fear of the dark, fear of the dark. A constant fear that something's always near. Fear of the dark, you. Fear of the dark. Have a phobia. Someone's always there.
Okay, that is the song Fear of the Dark, and that, brings us into the 90s and their big hit off that album right before their, lead singer quit. And let's just look at the lyrics. They're pretty simple. A fear of the dark. The one thing I love about this song, and that you probably heard or noticed, was that the audience carries it. This is one of those few rock songs that if you've ever seen it live, you won't forget it. Go ahead and look on YouTube and do live Fear of the Dark, and you will see that the audience, that whole the audience knows it. They sing it. You can hear them clearly. They're louder than the band itself. And it makes for a great live concert song. So the lyrics, I'm a man who walks alone. And when I'm walking a dark road at night, or strolling through the park, when the light begins to change, sometimes I feel a little strange, a little anxious when it's dark. A little anxious. Now, sometimes people use anxious wrong. Native speakers do. Anxious really means, in this case, nervous, scared, or afraid. It does not mean the same as eager or that you want to do something. Obviously, you're afraid of the dark. So, fear of the dark. I have a constant fear. Constant. Continuous. It's always there. Okay? Constant. Constant fear that something's always near. And then you have the word phobia, which phobia in English is a fear of something. So you have lots of phobias. And they are given technical names. Arachnophobia is a fear of spiders. Claustrophobia, fear of small spaces. These are some of the common ones. Fear of heights, of course. Anyway, the song goes on. It's pretty simple. You can follow the lyrics. You'll understand them as an English learner. But yeah, it's a great song. Check it out live on YouTube.
Mr. Don, we've had more than 7 new words now. They are myth, as in a very old story or legend, ablaze as in on fire, also ashes, which is what is left after a fire, just dirt. You said on someone's radar, which means they are aware of it or have noticed it. The Iron Maiden singer said he would run you through to the Russian soldier, as in stab him with his sword or bayonet, through his body, from the front and out his back. You also used the word philosophical, which means deep or profound in nature, a question or problem that is hard to answer or understand. Anxious means nervous about or a bit frightened of doing something. A phobia is a fear of something. And finally, constant means continuous or always there, as in a constant fear that someone is there in the dark waiting to kill you, for example.
Yes, that's right. Vera, our vocabulary vixen. Thank you so much. And I hope none of you have a fear of the dark. I think many of you have. It's a common fear, a common phobia that people are afraid of the dark. Okay, and after fear of the dark, I'm going to be honest, I think Iron Maiden kind of suffered from the fate of a lot of bands that were popular in the 80s, and they weren't. By the mid-90s, time had moved on. There was the grunge scene that was popular. There were other songs. So they had a number of albums, starting with the X Factor. That was with their new singer. Virtual 11. Is that what? I can't remember how that's. Okay, and then they had Brave New World in 2000. Dance of Death, even 2003. None of these were really big hits. I am going to play a song, one of my favorites from these, though. It's called These Colors Don't Run. Okay, so Let's take a look at the lyrics of this song. Incredible. It's the same in every country when you say you're leaving. Left behind the loved ones waiting silent in the hall. Where you're going lies adventure. Others only dream of. Red and green light, this is real, and so you go to war. So this song is about people, soldiers, military, who are going to another country to fight a war. It's a great song. It continues on. Why do people go to war? You know, why do they join the military? For the passion, okay? For the glory, for the memories, for the money. You're a soldier for your country. What's the difference? All the same. So there are a lot of reasons. There are a lot of reasons people go to war or they join the military, and they find themselves in combat. But it doesn't matter at that point. What's the difference? You're all the same, and now you're on a battlefield, soldier. So, far away from the land of our birth, we fly a flag in some foreign earth. In some foreign earth, in a foreign land, in another country that's not ours. We sailed away like our fathers before. And this is generational. It happens every single generation. For people in America anyway, in the military, and in England, I would say, you know, your dad fought in Vietnam, your grandfather fought in World War II. I mean, this is what it's about. These colors don't run from cold, bloody war. These colors, now that means our flag. And really the symbol, what the flag stands for, hopefully. Which would be, you know, a just cause. So the flag doesn't run from a cold, bloody war. All right? There is no one that will save you going down in flames. No surrender. Certain death, you look it in the eye. You look death in the eye is an expression. In English, it's quite common. It means, you know, you find yourself in a situation that you think you have a good chance of dying. And that's to look death in the eye. On the shores of tyranny. So, shores, foreign shores, foreign lands. Tyranny is the noun. A tyrant is like a dictator, a very bad leader. A tyrannical is the adjective. A tyrannical government is not a democratic government. It's not a good government. Tyranny is when whatever the tyrant or the dictator says, you know, that goes. They can just kill people whenever they want, disappear people, and that sort of thing. So Saddam Hussein in Iraq, for example, is just, you know, a typical example of a modern tyrant. Paying for my freedom with your lonely, unmarked graves. Yeah, there's no glory. I mean, at the end of the day, all these soldiers die. They die for fighting for some cause, maybe of freedom or liberty, and they're buried. They're in the ground, they're dead, and they're lonely, unmarked graves. Only their families remember them. They're not going to be remembered. Anyway, it goes on. This is an incredible song. It doesn't glorify war, but it also is not, it's not anti-war either. It's just it's a song that anybody who I think goes into combat could play loudly as they, go into combat. And anyway, that song is These Colors Don't Run. Now, the colors, if you're looking this song up, in American English, colors is spelled C-O-L-O-R-S. In British English, as well as in Canada, they spell colors C-O-L-O-U-R-S, which is very common. In America, there are a lot of words we spell O-R-S. They will spell them O-U-R in Canada or in Britain. Something just to keep in mind.
Sitting, waiting in the falling rain, getting crying, bodies moving, dying. All around there is the smell of death and fire. Hear the planes are coming, hear the soldiers running, killing on a scale to comprehend. Why are we here in this place, here to kill? Please, God, forgive us for what we have done. I always thought I was doing right. As of now, I'm not feeling so sure. I'm at a place of where I give no grace. I'm a soldier of war.
Okay, so here we have another song about war. And I mean, the difference is this song is actually from their album, The Final Frontier, which was not released until 2010. So Iron Maiden kind of took a hiatus. I mean, they released some albums. They weren't all that popular. Then in 2010, they released The Final Frontier. And this was kind of like a, wow, re-energized, we're back together again and making great music album. And it was very impressive. At that time in my life, I was in Thailand at university, and in 2011 when I first heard this album, and it's impressive. It's got a lot of great songs on it, including the one you just heard. So let's listen to a couple more from this album. So, a song about the joy of flying. When I see the runway lights, and the name Avalon's Land. Avalon, the ancient name for England, as in, you know, the King Arthur legends would call it that. All right, let's hear another.
they said on the news today? Have you heard what is coming to us all? That the world as we know it will be coming to an end. Have you heard? Have you heard? He sees them in the distance when the darkened clouds roll. He can feel tension in the atmosphere. He would look in the mirror, see an old man now. Does it matter? They survive somehow. They said there's nothing can be done about the situation. He said there's nothing we can do at all. To sit and wait around for something to occur. Did you know? Did you know? As he stares across the garden looking at the meadows, wonders if they'll ever grow again. The desperation of the situation getting graver, getting ready when the wild wind blows. Have you seen what they said on the news today? Have you heard what they said about us all? Do you know what is happening to just every one of us? Have you heard? Have you heard? There will be a catastrophe the like we've never seen. There will be something that will light the sky. Like the world as we know it will never be the same. Did you know? Did you know?
Okay. So what's great about this song is it's a subject that I don't think another band has ever sung about, at least that I know of. It's about the, doomsday preppers, people who believe that the end of the world is coming, and based on, modern news. So this was written back in 2010, not that long ago. This was certainly a thing. News media had just become, there's just doomsday, the world's coming to an end, my God. If you remember, or maybe you don't remember, but back in the 1960s, during the Cuban Missile Crisis, there were, people who built underground shelters and everything because they thought there would be a nuclear war between the Soviet Union and the U.S., which was not crazy, to be honest, because it almost happened a couple times. So anyway, in the modern world, there are plenty of people who think like that, that the governments are going to fail. For example, the U.S. government, that people are going to be on their own. It's best to, try to prepare for that. So a great song, unusual topic. In 2015, 5 years later, Iron Maiden comes out with another great album. These guys as fucking old rockers. And, that was the album Book of Souls. And let's play a few of the songs from that album. Okay, so those were a few of my favorite songs from the Book of Souls 2015, which was a great album. So take a listen to it. And the final album I'm going to highlight tonight actually is also a great album. Okay, those are a couple of intros to songs off of their latest album, Senjutsu. Obviously a Japanese name. You can look that up as to what it means. I had to. And that just came out just over a year ago. So have a listen to the album. One of the other cool things about Maiden is in 2015, when they went on tour again, they used a 747. Yeah, 747, as in one of the biggest airplanes ever made. They painted it and called it Ed Force One, obviously after Air Force One, but Ed is the character that you see on all of their album covers and everything else. So Ed Force One. And the coolest thing was that the pilot was the lead singer himself. Yeah. Airline pilot. He piloted the plane and they flew all over doing tours. Now, that's unheard of. I don't know another band that's done that. That is freaking cool. It's just badass. And they flew that thing all over the world doing tours. One of the other unique things about Iron Maiden that I love actually is that they are a touring band. I mean, if you look at the numbers, wow, they hold some records as far as like tours, concert tours, a number of live shows that they've actually done over the years. So anyway, and they had previously flown a smaller 757, I think in 2008 to 9, and then again in 2011 maybe. But they, that's not big enough. Let's go for broke. Let's get the big boy, the 747. We can carry all of our equipment, all of our crew, everything we need. We'll fly it ourselves. We'll freaking land at the airports. We'll do the shows. That's what they did. Yeah. Pretty incredible. Anyway, I think that airplane is no longer flying. You might want to look that up on YouTube, what the history of that is. I believe it was on lease to Saudi Arabia Airlines, but I expect that it will make a comeback. In other words, they've gone a good number of years between their last few albums. I think they've got another album left in them, another great album, and I think they'll release it. And so I think in the years to come, we'll get one more really good album out of Iron Maiden. And I think they will take that 747 and do a few more tours before they die. And that's my hope. As far as this podcast goes, this podcast is going to be changing its format dramatically. And by that, I mean, I am going to start working with a local university here in Vietnam. And we're going to get some students involved, and we're going to expand it. So it's not going to just be a hard rock metal show. That may come back in the future next year, to be honest. I expect it will. But for the next about 7 months, we're going to do, a dozen shows, podcasts that are, well, they're designed for a wider audience. And we're going to cover, I think, different music scenes here in Asia. And that will include rock, but it will also include music that I don't particularly care for, like pop and K-pop and other things. But anyway, that will be our next show. And I hope you have enjoyed this podcast and have learned some English. All right, signing off. This is Mr. Don.